going through that journey as we continue along. How did you get into insurance?
Oh my gosh. Well, unfortunately, after a very long marriage, I got a divorce, and I knew I had to do something. I had to sell our house. So that was the first order of business. And I was looking, but I could really take a job and make 40 or 50 grand. I mean, that just wasn't going to do it for me. I had a lot of children. I had still a lot of minor children. And not that I wanted that to continue the same lifestyle that they had become accustomed to, but for myself, I needed to find something to do. And actually, a very close friend of the family's who was in the jewelry business, it was a good friend of my brother's. My brother called me and said, so-and-so wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. So I drove out, met him and his wife, and he had left the jewelry business and got into the insurance business. Okay. And they got into the long-term care business. And I go, well, what's long-term care? I didn't even know what it was. And, timing is everything. And I was fascinated by the whole concept. And I went home, but it wasn't the right time for me. Exactly a year later, they called me. The day that I was to meet them again was the day my house went into escrow. California goes into escrow, meaning I guess here it's like a contract. And this, there were buyers. And I took that as a sign saying, okay, what do I do? And they said, go home, pack, move, and then you have to take a class. In those days, it wasn't an online class. You had to actually go and do, in California, you had to do 52 hours and a new language, new everything. And I sat there like a deer in the headlights with like this big, thick book that we went through, and I overstudied. And the day that I went to go take the test, I remember driving downtown to downtown LA saying, okay, I'm not going to pass it. It's okay. I'm not going to pass it, but at least I'll know what the test is like, right? Well, I passed it. I did pass it. And I was like, I walked out of there like 10 feet above the ground. And I said, thank you, God, for giving me a vehicle to be able to earn a living for myself and my children. And that's really was. Now, it wasn't easy, definitely not easy. But what I've learned is that you need a mentor. You need a mentor in this business. You need someone to take you by the hand and show you the way. I did not have that. So anything that I learned was the hard way. And so I, at a very, very early time in my career, made the conscious decision that if I ever was in a place where I could help another young agent, I would. Little did I know that would translate into recruiting people, because I had no interest in managing or recruiting. One of my daughters, my oldest daughter, says, Mom, you're such a boss. No, I am not a boss. I am not a boss. I don't want to be anybody's boss. I can inspire you. I can help you. I can guide you. I can train you. But really, it's up to every individual. And it's really up to them to find their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've seen how you embrace people, in your sales organization, and how you recruit as well. You are a boss at the recruiting. So
I still like to hear that.
So I want to ask you a question kind of off of the topic of where I was going to go next with the conversation, but I want to go back to your testing, to when you took the test. So how long did you wait to take the test from the time you finished studying your class?
1 week.
1 week. Because people ask, often, like, how soon should I take the test, after studying?
Oh, right away.
Right away.
Right away. You don't wait. And this is what I tell people. I don't care if you understand what's on the test. I just don't want you to know what the right answer is, because the understanding will come afterwards.
Right.
Just know what the answer is. It's all multiple choice, true and false, not a tough test. Yes, it's a different language. Learn it. Do the practice test. If you're getting in the 80s, you're going to be fine. You're going to pass it. I mean, I think in California, you need a 65% to pass. Don't tell anybody, but that's kind of crazy. Well, but mostly every place else, it's 70. Yeah.
California is like a whole nother planet when it comes to
it. It is. Well, so is New York. New York and California. Right. Yeah, different country. Yeah. But yeah.
No doubt. Okay.
So, I mean, I feel like, I wish I would have known about this years ago. I really do.
Yeah.
Especially I tell women, um, you know, I brought in quite a few women in my time, younger women, when I was living in California. And one of them that I kept in contact with called me one day and said, "Oh, I didn't keep up my continuing education. I let my license go." And I was like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" I said, "If God forbid something happens to your husband and he happens to be a DA in LA, you have something that you can fall back on. You can always get a job. I don't care who it's with, but you can always find a way to earn a living."
Right.
So I wish I would have been, I mean, when I was growing up and I asked my father about, tell me about life insurance, tell me about disability, tell me about the stock market. He would go, "Oh, honey, don't worry about it. Your husband will take care of it." And of course, that didn't happen. Yeah. And so I'm very, very pro women, learning about this. Well, everyone really, because there's just as many men that are kind of kept, by their wives or women, as there are women kept by their, and then something happens and they don't know they don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They don't know where anything is. And so that's kind of my goal to help people be much better prepared. But the insurance industry, it's not going away. It is, people will always be needing people with a license, always. And there's so many different directions that you can take it. So I would encourage everybody, even if you don't do it full time, hey, do it part time. You can make some really good money just part time. Yeah. So yeah, I encourage everybody to get a license.
Look, and maybe, help somebody that's close to you, right? Because
yes,
you get that license and your could be yourself, spouse, brother, sister, children, yep. Parents.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
Wouldn't it make sense for you to be the one that's helping them if you have the ability to do so?
Well, sometimes they don't really take that advice so easily. Right. Yeah. I've been a victim of that also, where, I wanted to help my dad on a number of occasions, wanted to get my mom long-term care policy. She really wanted it. My dad said, no, he has plenty of money to take care of her. And, he had plenty of money. Okay. But it ended up costing him over $500,000, where it could have cost him maybe maximum 135,000.
Yeah. That's
and would have protected his money. So he just passed away in February. He was 100.5. Yeah. And he was pretty blessed because he was a saver. He grew up in the Depression, World War II. He knew about saving for that rainy day. Nobody really tells you what that rainy day is, though. But when he fell in December and he suddenly needed help in every aspect of activity of daily living. I mean, he couldn't do anything, couldn't dress himself, couldn't feed himself, couldn't bathe himself, couldn't toilet himself. He couldn't do anything, couldn't walk. We had to get caregivers. And we were able to write the check for $22,000 for 1 month. $22,000. Who has that kind of money laying around? Yeah. Not too many people. Yeah. So even those people who have a lot of money, have made millions, it can be wiped out pretty easily. And with inflation and with the high cost of medical, the medical field going up every single year, it's only going to get more expensive. So you got to protect yourself. You just have to.
That's right.
Not everybody's going to qualify, but if you can qualify, the younger you are. Of course, nobody thinks about that when they're young. That's our job, is to educate them and just make the decision. Be protected, then you can not worry about it. Then you don't have to think about it, but yeah.
Shoot, maybe if people, do heed the call to, at least explore the option of getting an insurance license and knowing that they have it in their back pocket as a career option, or at least a professional certification, right? Because it's one that will assure that you always have an opportunity, but maybe having that type of certification will, inspire people to learn more about protecting themselves and others.
100%. And, you don't need any degree. You don't need a high school degree to even get to pass the test. You just need the will to sit down and learn the stuff, that's it.
we both know individuals who are high school dropouts who are multi
Yep.
because of
Yep.
this business and what they've learned.
Yeah.
Not to say they're not intelligent because they don't have those degrees, but
Life happened. Just life happened to them, whatever family life or yeah.
Still able to make that transition. I think that's so important. So question for you at coming from, you were in Southern California at this time, you started you started working. Take me through that your first year. Like,
oh God. Well, the housing market was on the brink of crashing, and it did. And who's buying long-term care insurance? People are overextended with those horrible loans. They're going into, foreclosures are popping up all over the place. And people, they just needed to figure out how to keep a roof over their head. They were letting go their life insurance. I mean, they were just, or in some situations that I was in, I found out that people were going after very innocent people and offering them a second mortgage at like a 9% interest rate. Like, who in their right mind does that? I mean, there are greedy people. Yeah, but unfortunately, listen, like any industry, but it's a horrible thing that in this industry there are such greedy people.
Yes.
Because our job is to really protect, not to be greedy and take advantage of. And so those first couple of years, I saw a lot of really awful things and a big lack of integrity. And my fallback was always, I'm just going to go get a job at Starbucks. That was always my fallback. But I mean, I never did. But it was hard. It was not easy. I had to transition from long-term care because somebody was buying it, couldn't earn a living. I sold mortgage protection insurance about 2 weeks. The first week was I just did the training. The second week I sold like 5 policies, and they were just horrible. I mean, they were just little stupid policies. But the last family that I went to is what really changed my career, because I didn't know if they could afford it. And it was to protect that horrible second mortgage of 9% interest that they were being charged. So first I wanted to go find that person and kill them, but that didn't happen. And second, they were the American dream. They had come from Mexico. The gentleman worked for Sunkist for 30 years. The wife had been cleaning houses and they got diabetes and she couldn't. They had 2 girls who went through college and got good jobs. And it was really the American dream. And I was very upset that somebody had taken advantage of them. And so in order to protect that second mortgage, I sold them a term policy that was for $35 a month, but I didn't know if they could afford it. And when I called the district manager after I got in the car, I said, I just sold this policy. He goes, oh, that's great. I said, well, it's only $35. He goes, well, that's fine. I said, no. What I mean to say is, I don't know if they can afford it. And his answer to me changed everything. He said, well, who cares? I said, what? He said, who cares? Just let them, just keep it. And that you'll get your commission. And after a year, you can let it go because, you won't have to pay back the insurance company because they stop paying. And I called, I was so upset. I called the gentleman. I was sitting in front of his house in my car, and I called him and I said, Mr. So-and-so, please tell me, can you afford this extra $35? He said, I really can't. I said, I'm not putting it through. And I quit. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I eventually found my way. I did find my way. I actually ended up getting my securities license. But that was back in 2009, and there's no way I'm going to start selling variables when the market is like crazy and the world is falling apart, and there's more foreclosures in LA and people didn't even know what they were doing. It was horrible. And overnight, people's IRAs and their 401ks lost like sometimes up, between 30 and sometimes 60% of the value. And people didn't know what to do. They didn't know, where they're going to turn, how they're going to make up that money. So, so my journey has been interesting and filled with, a lot of interesting people. But I will say that since I moved here, I really have found the most wonderful people to work with. I really have. People of high integrity. You know, they say the cream always rises. And when you find a company or companies where the people, you know, are of the highest integrity and really are compassionate and really care, it shines through. And I'm very blessed today to be able to work with those type of people. And you were one of them, Ron.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes.